What is up, everybody? My name is Andrew and welcome to a Space Engineers update video, because today Keen Software House released the core systems update for Space Engineers, adding things to the base game and adding an entirely new DLC as well. And we're going to go over everything that they've added in this update today, starting with the base game and then moving on to the DLC later. So let's move into the base game and see what's new. So for starters, they've added a new block over here, and this is a bed. They've added a bed block. This is good. We've already had bed blocks, but this one's kind of like a, like a chill bed. So these right here are the other beds that they have in the game. So this was the first bed that they added, which was very much like a space bed. It kind of clasps you in there in case there's no gravity or something like that. Then they added the inset bed, which was one of their inset blocks, and it was just like a kind of small bed there. They added a half bed. They added a half bed open, but this is the first double bed that they've added, or maybe I should say twin bed. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not a full queen, or I don't know what bed size that is. All the bed size people can comment below, but they've added this new one, which is very much a bed that you might see like kind of in a sci-fi setting on the Earth planet or something like that. So that's kind of cool. A new bed has been added to the game. That is in fact the only block that's added to the base game with this one, but there are a lot of quality of life updates, starting with some farming stuff. So we're gonna go over this stuff first. So first and foremost, you now no longer have to go into the farm plot and click harvest like this to harvest things. You can just click on it and you can run through and harvest things very quickly like that. So that's a very nice quality of life update that's going to make farming a whole lot easier, where you don't have to actually, for every single plot, you'd have to go in and be like, boom, harvest, okay, next, boom, harvest, okay, next, boom, harvest, next. Now you can just click and it's very quick, which is very, very nice. Likewise, they've added a new ability to plant things. So before this update, you would have to go in and say, okay, I would like to plant me some seeds right there. Boom, plant. Next one. All right, fruit seeds, plant. All right, fruit seeds, plant. Well, now you can actually move them down to your hotbar, as you see right here on the bottom here. You do that by going into the G menu and then going into seed packs. It's actually a character item. Okay, so then once you have seeds in your inventory, you can actually just click on it as you'd click on any other tool item and just run through and plant things very quickly like this. Look at that. I'm basically filling up an entire farm just like this. There's some mushroom spores right there, and let's finally get some vegetables in the background as well. You can never forget your greens, everybody. Spinach is a superfood. There we go. That's a very nice update for the farming stuff right there. So harvesting and planting made a whole lot easier just with the ability to click on things like that. You can probably 10 times your speed for going through the farms. Very nice addition to the game. Next up, they've added a whole lot of new set options. So what that means is it's giving you the ability to actually go into a button, and instead of just like tweaking things, you can actually set things like the HUD text or the broadcast radius. Those are two new ones. They've been adding these over the recent updates, and they're very nice additions to the game, being able to actually set the value for certain things instead of having to just like increase or decrease like it used to be. So in this case right here, the new antenna has been given the ability to set the broadcast radius and the HUD text. So just showing off the broadcast radius here, I've just set it to 5 by clicking that button. And if I go up to it, you see that at 5 meters, I can see it, but any further than that, I can no longer see it. Now, if I set it right here to 10, boom, now I can go up to 10, but after that it's gone. And then if I set it to 1,000, I'll see the radius. So this is giving us the ability to just set that radius with the click of a button, or with an event controller, or with a timer, or anything like that uses the in-game event stuff. So that's a nice one for the antenna. And then over for the beacon as well, we have the ability to set the name. So I can set the name right here to say I am happy. I can click a button again, it'll say I am sad, and you can click a button again and say I am neutral. Now both of these actually apply to the antenna and the beacon. I just use this one for the radius and this one for the name, but they both have the ability to set the name and the radius, so that's good. Next, we have the ability to set the acceleration on a gravity generator, and for that we're going to go to space. Hey, look at that. We're in space looking over our ground base right here. And this is our little space testing area where we have a gravity generator and we have a couple of buttons set up as well. So the first one just sets it to normal. We're at 9.8 meters per second squared, which is the same gravity as Earth. But if I click this button right here, now it's set to a little bit lower. This is 3 meters per second squared. So we're kind of feeling like a moon sort of gravity here where we can jump really high. But what happens when I click the third button? Oh, go! We've reset the gravity. Now it's negative 9.8 meters per second. We are now upside down, and the ceiling has become the ground, and the ground has become the ceiling. So that's now an ability to do inside. Now you could always have done this, but you'd have to actually go into the thing, and you'd have to actually just set it like this. Boom, you just have this slider right here. But now you can set these to a button so that they actually just, you know, it's a click of a button and you can change everything. So if an invader comes onto your ship, boom! Now you're discombobulated. Now what are you gonna do now? So there we go. That's the ability to set the gravity with the buttons. Let's go back down to Earth to look at the last few. And we're back. All right, the next one I'm gonna have a hard time showing off here, so I'm just gonna tell you about it because I think a lot of you probably know a lot more about this than I do, but this is the ability to set the angle deviation on a turret controller. So the turret controller has a setting down here called angle deviation, and this is the angle that a turret tries to shoot at. Basically, if the turret is aiming at something and it's within a certain amount of angle deviation, it'll actually fire. So if you set this to 1, it's gonna make sure that it's a pinpoint accuracy, but now you can set this to whatever you want using the buttons instead of just going into it. And I don't have anything to show that off, but I can at least show off that it changed it. So now it's 50, which means 50 degrees of angle deviation, AKA you would never hit a shot unless it's a very large thing. Anyway, next we'll look at the automation or the sensor rather, where we have the ability to set the sensor ranges using buttons. And so I'm just using one of the angles here, but you can see I'm clicking this button and it's getting a little larger. So this is where the sensor actually will trigger. If I walk by this way, the sensor did not trigger, but if I expand this a little bit, boom, the sensor will now trigger as I walk through that right there. This actually works for every angle, so it's got all the extents right here. Left extent, right extent, bottom, top, back, and front. All of those work with buttons now where you can set them. I just showed off the right extent because it's a little easier just to show off one. And finally, we have our trusty jump drive here where you're able to set the jump drive jump distance using a button. So this first button right here is setting the distance to 10. The next one is setting it to 200 and finally 2000. So if I click this and go into our jump drive, we can see that it's set to 10 kilometers right there. If I click this again, the second one, we can see it's set to 200 kilometers. Now this is extremely useful because as far as I know, there was no way to set the distance to a distance. You had to set it to a percent. So if I did if I did control click on this to actually be able to set a value and set like 10, it's not gonna go 10 meters, it's gonna go 10%, which is 404 meters. But now with the help of a button right here, you can actually go into this and say, I would like to set my jump drive to go exactly, what, 19 kilometers here. And now I can set that. And when I go into here, it'll be set to 19 kilometers, which is a really, really helpful thing. You can have this set to do whatever you want. And it doesn't have to just be buttons, by the way. You can set this on a hotbar or anything else that uses the Space Engineers events like these. So very nice additions to the game. I think I might be missing a couple things. They added joystick support and I think they added a couple more things, but I'm not entirely sure what they are. I'm recording this before they did the live stream because I'm gonna be out of town when the release actually drops. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there are some other quality of life features. I'll pin a comment down below if anyone says what they are, or I'll come back and tell you guys what they are in the comments below. But anyways, let's move on to DLC land to see what they're adding in the DLC for the Core Systems update. All right, most of the time the DLC stuff in this game are reskins of existing stuff, and this update is no different. First, we're getting some new seats. These are suspended seats. They're called suspended control seats here, where they're not connected on the bottom, but they're connected on the top right here, and they're kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. Like if you had a mech or something, you might have a suspended seat like this. Well, they have a normal seat one. They have a small grid normal seat one right here. They have a control seat variant, which has a screen up top, and they have a small grid control seat variant as well, which has a tiny little screen up there that you can set to whatever you want, which is kind of cool. It's a kind of neat little thing. I'm sure this can be used in many ways. This is very much like the Helm, where it's a very exposed seat, but I think it's going to be kind of fun. Moving on, we have a couple of reskinned versions of the hydrogen thruster. These are the sci-fi hydrogen thruster. And in fact, I have a large grid one. I have a small large grid one. And there is also a small grid ones that I forgot to put in. So let me put those in real quick right here so you can see what they look like. All right, there we go. There are the small grid variants as well. I actually wonder how this compares to the normal ones. Okay, so it's actually about the same size as a normal large hydrogen thruster. The only one that's a little bit different is the industrial one, which is 1 block longer, but it looks like this one is the same size as the standard variant of the hydrogen thruster. What about on the large grid? Yeah, on the large grid as well, it's about the same size as the thruster right there. So there we go. This is the reskinned version of the hydrogen thruster for the sci-fi variant, and I think it looks pretty cool. Lots of greebling around the sides, very, very neat, and I really like. Yeah, I really like this. Lots of detail as well, adding in a little radioactive thing or like a danger thing to these, which is very neat. Warning, do not open authorized personnel only. Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to open a hydrogen thruster and find yourself on the inside of that thing. All right, so those are the new hydrogen thrusters. Let's move on to the reskinned version of the landing gear. So we have a large grid variant of the new landing gear type 2, and we have a small grid variant of the new landing gear type 2 as well. I believe these are less profile than the main ones. Oh yeah, definitely. You can see that this is 1 block smaller than the main landing gear in the game, and this is probably also 1 block smaller if I had to guess. Yep, it's also 1 block smaller. I kind of like this. I've always wanted like a lower profile landing gear, and usually I just use the mag plates because they're the lowest profile you can get, but having 1 block smaller is going to make a lot of sense for future builds. I really like it. All right, moving on from our landing gears, we have a new variant. This is the sci-fi hydrogen engine, and we have 2 blocks. We have a sci-fi hydrogen engine in the large grid right here, and we have a small grid variant as well, which has a connection point on the front and on the back. As for the large grid variant, we've got a connection point right there, and we probably also have, if I had to guess, a connection point on the bottom. Yep, we do have a connection point on the bottom as well. In terms of the similarity to the base game one, I'm pretty sure this is very similar. This has the connection point on the back and on the bottom, whereas this one here is very different, I'm pretty sure. No, actually, it's very similar. It's a little bit longer. This right here is the base game variant of the hydrogen engine on the small grid. So the sci-fi one is a little bit longer, but it's got the connection points in the same place. So it's a little similar at least. But yeah, that's an interesting little observation, I think. Again, as with all the new blocks, I really like how these look. And actually, I wonder if... Oh, that's so cool. I hadn't seen that yet. Wow, that's awesome. You can actually open it up and you see the pistons down there. What I'm wondering is if that's actually going to have an animation. Let me go over to my setup for all the hydrogen stuff for having those working. Oh, that's so cool. It is actually running. We have animations in here. This is showing this turbine spinning, and then we have the pistons down there going. So that kind of confirms that when this is turned off, these aren't moving, and when it's turned on, they are moving. Also noticing it's not very loud. Hang on, did they make it quieter? Yeah, that right there. This is the base game one, and you can hear when this is on, it's pretty darn loud. But when I turn this off, and it's only this one, oh, the other side opens too. That's really cool. This is just like a hum. There's like no sound to this. That is really neat. Okay, so the sci-fi variant of the hydrogen engine is extremely quiet, whereas the normal variant is very much like an engine. It kind of sounds like an engine. So that's cool. Okay, let's move on to the next few things because we've got a cool couple of things on the inside portion of our thing. First and foremost, what you can see off to our right is going to be the Type 2 variant of the jump drive. This is really cool. It's got a place you can stand up here on this side where you can actually kind of stand and observe it. It's got this animation in here as these things are circling around when this thing is on. I imagine when you turn it off, those probably stop. Maybe not. I think actually they are slowing down. Yeah, okay, so they stop when it's turned off, and when it's turned on, they go normally. Pretty sure this has the same distance as, yeah, it does have the same distance as a normal jump drive. It's just a reskinned variant of the jump drive. A Type 2 variant, if you will. Got some fun words right here. Remote operated system, automated equipment, refer to user manual, may operate without warnings, use with caution. It's kind of funny. Yeah, that is true. It would kind of throw you off if this thing got operated remotely while you were just walking around. But anyways, yeah, look-wise, this looks a lot more like a Prototech block than the standard jump drive. It's got the standing area, it's got the animations. I like it. I think it looks really cool. Yeah, very nice addition to the game, having this Type 2 variant. Oh, that's cool. It actually spins right here too. Yeah, I really like the Type 2 variants they've been adding to the game. They look neat. Just a nice little upgrade. But then over here, we have a couple of doors that are being added to the game, 6 to be exact. We've got the centered door right here, which is just a door that's kind of in the center. It's just big enough to walk through. Actually, it's maybe a little bit bigger than it needs to be, but Yeah, just a hair bigger than it needs to be. I think probably the half doors are the smallest ones that you can get. But yeah, a centered door right here. We have a glass variant right here as well, which has just a little bit of glass that you can see through. Looks very nice. Then we have a half door variant as well, which you can walk through, and we have a glass half variant as well. There it is. And then finally we have a couple small grid variants also, which take up a 5 block area, but the walking area is a 3 block area. So this one right here, you can just walk on through. And then this one over here is the glass variant, which you can just walk on through as well. It's a very nice addition to the game. I always like doors. Doors are so cool. The addition of the glass doors in the last update was really neat. And then having a couple more glass doors to look at is just amazing. I love it. Let's move on to the lights. They've added a couple more lights. These are very similar to the inset lights, but these are called Tropher lights. So they look a little bit like, I don't know, like, I think of like the lights that are in like the back rooms, or like, I have no clue. What are those lights called that you see in like a lot of office buildings? They kind of look like that, having a long rectangular profile here, but this is just a standard inset variant. And then we have a couple of half block variants. So we have a half block right here, and then we have the offset half block as well, which gives you a little space on that side. But yeah. In fact, you'll see I've used these all throughout this area right here. Yeah, that's what that's gonna look like if you have them like that, but more likely you're probably gonna have them like this. Yeah, more likely you're probably gonna have like a line of them like this, because it kind of looks, you know, sci-fi and neat or whatever. But I don't know, you do them how you want to do them. It's a very cool addition to the game and very awesome. Next up, they've added a whole lot of slope blocks. Now these, at first when I saw them in the poster, I thought these were like you know, new armor blocks, but it looks like these are more niche blocks that could be used for, you know, I don't know, making cables or something like that. So you'll see over here, we start off with a variant A of just the standard kind of slope block, a variant B, and then a variant C, which has like maybe things you would like strap something onto or something like that. I don't know, if you were about to go outside your space base or something like that, you might want to tether on, and that would do something like that. This has more of like a shelf where you could put stuff in, and then this is just a very basic variant. Then right here we have a lot of sloped variants as well. So slope, we have an inverted slope, we have a half block inverted slope, and then we have kind of the inside slope right there. We also have the, oh no, actually these are called corner, I believe. Yeah, these were called corner, these were called slopes. So we have corners and we have slopes right here. And then over here we have the half block as well, which you could probably use as like a pillar or something like that. These also have small grid variants as well. So over here, you can see all the small grid variants. They only have the type A rounded edge. They don't have the B or the C for the small grid, but then everything else they do have for the small grid as well. Not sure why they only included A and not B and C, but I don't know. They made their decision. But then this is just something I put together. I never claimed to be an artist. I don't know what I'm doing here. I just thought I'd like use the blocks a little bit. I'm sure you could find a better way to use them that looks a little bit cooler. But anyway, yeah, that's all the slope blocks that they've added. Finally, over here, they've added a couple of additional blocks to the Apex Survival Pack, which I believe is the one that they released last update. And this is just some inverted variants of existing ones. So these were the existing ones right here. They've added inverted variants as well, which, you know, they kind of go on the other side. So these were missing before. You could have a situation where you're like, I want to put a light up here, but there's no, the only light doesn't fit, right? Now you can do that. So there we go. With that, that is everything that's being added to the base game and to the DLC of the core systems update. Lots of cool new reskins of blocks that you can use, and lots of stuff over here as well. One new block on the base game, but the quality of life stuff that they're adding is really nice, and I always love to see new quality of life features, because at this point in the game, we have so many blocks. Honestly, making things easier is really good. But that's just what I think. What do you guys think? Write it down in the comments below so we can have a discussion on what you think of the core systems update. Do you enjoy the new base game quality of life features that they're adding? Do you wish they had more blocks added to the base game? What about the DLC? Do you like the new sort of reskins that they're adding, the Type 2s and the sci-fis, all the new blocks that they're adding here, or do you wish they went in a different direction? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we'll go ahead and end this one. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. If you're new and haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button below to get notifications for when videos go live. And if you'd like to become a YouTube member or a patron, there are links below in the description where you can get early access to most videos. Probably not this one because this has a specified release date, but most videos you'll get early access to, and you'll get your name in the end credits right here as well. And you might even get a shout out at the end of the video for some of the higher tiers, the tier 3 and tier 4 specifically. So today we're going to shout out Colin Graves, Azrael, and Joshua Wilson. Thank you very much for your support, and thank you everyone who's watching for your support as well. And with that, I will see you all in the next Space Engineers video.